Will Rees is a 15-year-old young man from Wales. He has Escobar syndrome and arthrogryposis. Now, what that means is that condition actually affects his joints from his back to his fingers to his legs. He has a very tough time moving around. In fact, he gets very tired easily whenever he's walking, so he uses a motorized wheelchair. Now, Will is also the striker of the Exum AFC Power Chair football or soccer team, and Wrexham also has professional men's and women's teams along with it. Will is extremely competitive. He drops the F bomb on quite a few occasions, but he loves to play power chair football. That experience and being part of that team has actually changed how he sees himself. He doesn't feel sorry for himself for the affliction that he has. In fact, he has actually fully embraced what has happened to him. He even said that without it, he wouldn't be able to play power chair football, which is the most important thing in his life. So think about that. If we were faced with something that was debilitating and impacted every corner of our lives, could we have that same attitude? Could we take a step back and not be a victim of our circumstances? Because so many times when something happens to us that we view as being negative, we see ourselves as being victims. But more often than not, that's wasted energy. What if we actually shifted our perspective? We turned things around. We looked at things from a different perspective, asking ourselves, what's the opposite of what I'm thinking or what I'm feeling right now? If we looked at these limitations that impacted us, what if we turned around and looked at them as strengths? What if we took control of the situation and actually, in the process, increased our own personal agency? Nick Saban has a quote where he said, "So what? Now what?" What that means is it gives us a limited amount of time to feel sorry for ourselves when something happens to us. But then we have to stop and ask ourselves, okay, what are we going to do about it? What actions are we going to take? Because the more that we do that, we go from being helpless to being hopeful. I worked with an agent about 3 years ago, and this woman would always use her ADHD as an excuse. But we got to talking, we flipped it around, we actually looked at that ADHD as being her superpower. And now, not only does she have a successful real estate career, but she's also working another full-time job and has successful side projects that she's working on in addition to that. So it's the same thing with Will. Will has taken what's happened to him and he's actually embraced it. He's actually flipped it around. He's excited. He's full of life. He's not letting that condition drag him down. So we need to ask ourselves, when something like that happens to us, okay, how can we make what happened to us that much better? Because more often than not, when you hear stories of people that have turned this around, they end up saying that the thing that happened to them was the best thing that happened to them.